Hello traders, it's Iliya here, and as always I'm really happy to have you on the Trading Fanatic channel. Welcome to another trading setups breakdown video in which we're gonna have a detailed look at EURUSD, and I'm gonna share with you all the trades that I took this week, all the opportunity that was available. Of course, we're gonna have a nice top-down analysis. I'm gonna share some projections with you, and of course the aim of this video is for you to learn, to extract a couple of gems, to see how I do stuff, and hopefully you can steal something for your own trading strategy, right? And usually I do those in the weekly outlook and setups, but I know you have been wanting those trading setups breakdown videos, and I want to keep them separate from the weekly outlook and setups. So let's actually get more consistent in publishing those, because I would love for you to know how I perform. Right now I focus mainly on revamping my private program. It is fully ready. I'm very excited for my members, so if you wish to trade with me, make sure to join the Fanatic family, and you can do this by visiting the link in the description, right? If you're new to this channel, of course, it's all about trading. I share a weekly outlook and setups every Saturday. Once per week, I'm gonna give my best to share an educational piece of content or a trading setups breakdown video. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell, and of course, at the end of the video, if you enjoy it, make sure to hit the like button. And if you already did, let's actually jump into the video. Alright, let's get started with a nice top-down analysis to really try to summarize where EURUSD is going, what is it doing, and of course kind of build a little bit of a context why I took those trades. Because in a bit we're going to be jumping onto the 15-minute time frame, then on the 1-minute time frame, which is my execution one. So it is always very important that you first build context, right? A lot of you guys are focusing on learning how to enter the market, or having those fancy entry strategies, having those tight stop losses without really actually having the foundation, right? Which is market structure, okay? And of course, understanding how to identify trends, okay? So here we are on the 4H. I usually don't do like weekly and daily during the week. I pretty much know what the market is doing. We know that we're currently consolidating around the round number of 1.0. We are dipping a little bit towards 1.99, even a little bit below that. We dipped on the 6th of September, and right now we're pulling back. And again, you can see how that 1.0 handle is really kind of keeping the market at bay right there. And of course, long term, we can expect the market to give us a little bit of a pullback, maybe towards 1.02, 1.015, right? This is where I would eventually love to see price, right? But of course, it really right now depends on the fundamentals. It depends on the ECB, it depends on the Fed, on the dollar, on the euro, on the inflation, CPI, all of that stuff, right? We have a lot of factors in play. But what I always find out is that the technicals are gonna align with the fundamentals, right? This is why I really actually love technicals and don't pay too much attention to the fundamentals, okay? So of course, if you check the last weekly outlook and setups, we have been saying that the euro is pretty bearish. We have this very nice flow. The market seems to be respecting supply, right? We had a very nice range right there, a little fake to the downside, then the market came in, grabbed liquidity above this high, and then we shifted structure lower, which created this full hourly shift of structure right there. This introduced a new lower low, right? So then we pull back very simply towards the brand new supply. We retest it, create a new lower high, and then we just massively drop where to? Towards the previous low, to of course create a new lower low, right? What happens pretty much on the 5th of September right now? We pull back very nicely towards the shorting area, which I had at first, I had as this big candle, right? And right now I haven't refined to the wicks, but we're gonna, maybe at the end of the video, I'm gonna throw a couple of projections of what I expect. But then of course I was looking for the shorts from this sort of area. The market came in, responded, came for a nice liquidity grab, which was on session opening, I believe. And then where do we go? Of course, we attack the low, okay? So then, of course, before I used to study Elliott wave theory, and from time to time in my head, I tend to recognize this pattern, right? So what we have right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, right? Each low made a lower low, so it's pretty correct. So usually when you see like 5 waves like this, the market is going to potentially end its cycle, and then it's going to initiate a reversal or just like a deeper pullback, ABC, before maybe it continues lower again, right? So around Tuesday to Wednesday, I was expecting those longs. Unfortunately, there was not a great setup for this big long during New York session. Some of my community members took it, so I'm going to share with you the actual setup. But this is pretty much the full hourly picture, right? Of course, after this break of structure right there, we had a brand new lower high, which is also accompanied by a supply, but we just broke through it without even stopping. So this one was completely kind of overlooked. And what we have right now is the market responding from the absolute extreme right there, which is within this wick. So precisely in a bit, like in it's not in a bit, it's an hour ago, we're currently having a lot of news playing out, and you see that this session has been consolidative. We threw a big wick up, right now we threw a big wick down, we're currently retracing, so it's a lot of madness happening right now. So instead of trading, I decided to sit down and actually have some quality chart time and share it with you guys, right? So let me plot the price action of Monday. I have already prepared it in order to save time, and of course I'm just gonna walk you through it. So what is the first thing that happened on Monday? Well, our projections on Saturday were two scenarios, right? The market was, where was it? So the market was right here, right? It was only this candle. So what I wanted to see is either a little pullback to give me a short, or I said that the market can just continue going lower towards where? Well, the next liquidity point, which is this major low, right? And let's pay a little bit more attention to this low, because that is a pretty major low, right? The market just stopped right there on the 23rd of August and then initiated a massive pullback and came to that zone after 13 days, right? So after 2 weeks. And that doesn't seem a lot, but it's a lot, right? And usually after the market takes out such a point, we are gonna immediately initiate a pullback, which is why we had a lovely long bias on Monday. Unfortunately, I did not trade on Monday because I started my final university year right now, so I have to be on campus on that day, which is sad. But let me explain what happened, okay? So having that bias in mind on the 4-hour time frame, knowing that we're breaking below a major liquidity point, knowing that we are at a lower low, and what we want to do is we want to buy low, take the market at a high price, and then start selling it, okay? So what happens is, of course, at first the market was actually trending down. I would like to also trigger my Asian range. The Asian range was pretty nicely consolidative. We initiated very nicely outside of it, which pretty much formed that morning manipulation, right? People thinking the market is gonna go short, but it just dips below, grabs the liquidity, right? And then we had a pretty big run to the upside, right? So at first I was actually looking for the short. Why? Because my rule says until you see a 50-minute trend change, which is what signifies to me that the trend is changing, so I want to shift my bias, I am short, right? But as you can see, the market came in and actually responded from this little guy, which later caused me to explore a potential long opportunity right there. So the market taps inside, reacts with this bearish candle, right? And then it breaks above it. Okay, so this is first sign of supply failing. But at that moment, I had this big zone. I ignored that little zone. So again, it's always important to pay attention to details, right? And if I actually paid attention to this, I could have also taken a long right there, which I have marked for you. And then what happens is that the market actually initiates outside and causes that trend change, which to me signifies that we are reversing. And then it's all the matter of actually getting into the trade. We had two opportunities. Again, the first one was on the first retest. Then we had right here, second retest, and then we also had a third retest, right? So we have three entry opportunities, and there was also one right there and also one right there, which I haven't marked because they're outside of my trading window and are not an opportunity that I would usually take. So going back right there to see what actually happens. So there is the 1 minute, right? So this is where the market responded from that supply on the left, and we can see it by this big buy before the big sell, right? So this is pretty much how that supply area was created. The market responded very correctively and then massively initiated outside, right? So what happens later is the market pulls back, takes a little flat low liquidity right there, creates a shift of structure, comes back for a retest, and right here you get an absolute textbook entry with a 4-pip stop loss. And by the time the market actually breaks the structure on the 50-minute, you already have a 5.25 risk to reward, right? Which is absolutely amazing. Then we actually shift the structure and we create a brand new demand. The market pulls back and gives us the shift, but doesn't give us an entry immediately right there. So what do? Is we have to stay patient, right? So then the market actually comes back after shifting the structure, creating this massive impulse. We have a nice correction tap inside. So what you can do is you can already go ahead, take the trade right there, stop loss below, and of course, what do you target? You target the most recent high. But then an amazing opportunity that was provided just after this is that we actually spotted the market is holding. It showed us an indication that it's starting to break structure. It retested the brand new zone that was created and also caused the liquidity gap, a break below a previous low. take it from there. Again, a little bit bigger stop loss, 5.4 pips, and then again towards the 50-minute high you get another 5.6 R, right? And then of course we can explore opportunities that are right there, but I'm not gonna go into detail because I also didn't take this trade, so I don't want to pay too much attention to Monday. All right, so Monday, amazing long bias day, around 3 opportunities that you could have taken in around London session, and also quite a few during New York, which if you held overnight would have come to beautiful fruition. Okay, so that is Monday. Let's have a look at Tuesday. Wow, I have so many zones right there. So what I'm looking at right here is this big supply zone, right, that we drew from the 4-hourly time frame, but right now I have it drawn again, right? And what do I expect? I expect a short day, right? However, on the open, I would also classify myself as an intra-session trader, right? So I go to the charts around that time right there after the Asian session has closed, and I try to forecast where London session is potentially gonna go. And then of course I will try to participate in the big move, but this is something I have a lot of things to work on, right? This is something that I have to work on, is to try to actually participate in the big move and stop trying to get into those short-term moves, right? They are great, but the money is really made on those huge swings, okay? So what I immediately understood after the Asian session closes is that we're tapping into that supply zone, but we're not really taking much liquidity. I spotted that we have very nice flat highs right there, and then I spotted these wicks, right, which is kind of a drop-based drop, supply and demand, right? And this is where eventually I wanted to see price to come in, reject, and eventually take a short, right? And so how I read the market was, in the beginning, I spotted that there is bullish structure and there is bullish flow, right? So there is this rally-based rally. Demand pulled back, held from it, tried to push higher, responded from supply, tried to make a new lower low, failed, and then it flipped into the high. So what did that create? A beautiful demand zone for me that we tapped inside and provided a beautiful textbook entry, right? Where is the target? Well, I held all the way until this zone, but of course I took partials before that. Okay, so it's not a complete 6.6 our trade. I want full transparency. I'm gonna share all my partials as well. I don't like sharing my lot size and my profit because it's not about profit. Yes, the trades are on live account, right? So if you wish to know this, but yeah, I just don't feel comfortable sharing the money. Could be a lot, could be little for some of you, I don't know, but I just prefer to keep it educational and not really brag about something. Okay, so and keeping this in the 50-minute in mind, right? So this is where I took my long trade, and then look what happens. The market taps inside and gives me a massive reaction from that zone, which also causes a shift of the last 15-minute higher low, right? So we create a brand new lower low right there. So then it was a matter of adaptation and actually knowing where to take the trade. What I spotted right there is that we have a little bit of a base initiated outside, pulled back towards that new supply level, and this is where the short trade was kicking in, right? And if you took that trade and if you wrote it towards the target, well, you pretty much nail a 20-hour trade, which is insane, right? Very nice. So having all this information, let's actually jump on the 1-minute time frame, see what's going on right there. So again, as I told you, you can even train yourself to see the hard time frame picture on the lower time frame, because have you ever asked the question, what are actually time frames? Right? What is a time frame? Well, price is price. Price is one. Right? Time frames are just a different representation of price, right? So we have like, weekly, 4-hourly, daily, hourly, 1 minute, it's all price. However, you see it just in a different way. The lower time frame is gonna provide you more candles, it's gonna provide you with more context, it's gonna be more noisy, it's gonna have more details, while the higher time frame are just compressing all of that information. Right, so it's very important for you to know this. So then at the end, I am confident to say that I have the skill to be on the higher time frame and know how the lower time frame is gonna look like, or to be right now on the lower time frame and know how the higher time frame is gonna look like. Right, so I would actually suggest that you practice doing this. Right, so what we see right here is that range, right? We massively expand outside our range, we pull back, we hold from it, the market reacts, responds, create this MSS formation that I teach in my free market structure course, right? Then we hold, which is a great indication that potential buyers are in the market, and then we pull back towards this zone, right? So what do? Is we tap inside, we simply shift the structure to the upside, right? Then we come back for a retest, oops, and my first entry for the week was taken from right here. Stop loss was below. I could have placed a stop loss right there, but I thought we can come in a little bit deeper. So I don't do 1.5 pip stop losses. I want to be safe. So I had a 4 pip stop loss. Okay. And then as the market expanded very nicely, I 100% took a partial with 5R. So I have a partial right there. I have some partials maybe right there as a top 6R. And then I think the final was somewhere right there. As we pushed and made a new lower high, I knew that this high is taken. We're tapping into supply. So I closed the full volume of my trade somewhere right there. Right. So that was my first trade of the week. It was with full risk. Right. So that is a great start. And I also think I was already running this in my Tuesday flow with the markets. So make sure to check it out, like for the live breakdown. And then what you can see is that we tap into supply and a massive initiation outside, right? So what we have right there is a little bit of sloppy price. I love this price because it's liquidity, right? Flat highs. The market took them and then initiated outside. So spot this pattern, right? We have that same pattern where? Just right there. Massive sell off, big buy, right? Massive buy, big sell. We have it also right there. Where is it? Yeah, we don't have it much right there. It's more of a range. But those are like those little patterns that really, if you look on the 1 minute, you see it and you're like, okay, that zone looks good. Okay. But at that time, I wasn't really trading. It was 12 o'clock. I don't execute at 12 o'clock, which is a pity, right? But the market pulled back towards the zone, showed me the shift, right? And then it just came for a quick retest. The stop loss is 4 pips. Again, pretty good. And of course, if you really want to be quick, you take your targets at the lower low, which gives you a beautiful 5R trade. I did not take this one though, but I know members of my community did, right? And then of course, the market ran towards the major target for the day. And then what we'd usually do is we end up consolidating for the end of the day. Okay, so that is Tuesday. Lovely trade right there. And right now, let's go to Wednesday. Hopefully you're getting value from it. If you do, you know what to do. Hit that like button. So Wednesday was very interesting. I really loved because guys, by the way, I share all of those trades in my community, right? Every single morning, I'm going to update you with those charts. Then I'm going to follow up, right? If I see something, if I'm going to execute on it, I'm going to share it. And it's been really good how EURUSD has been a good girl and has been listening and really actually goes towards as planned, right? So let's have a look what is happening. Again, guys, what happens after we take out a major low, right? May this be a good lesson. We initiate the pullback, right? But once again, what we can see is that we have again 1, 2, 3 lows, right? And 1, 2, 3 highs. So that is a nice channel and also completes that Elliott wave theory. So in the morning, I had that feeling, that notch, that we are going to have an expansive move higher. But first, I needed to see something, right? I needed to see something more. Right, I thought we were gonna come in deeper again, and we did. But then this setup, which members of my community took, was for me undercooked. Right, I still have my alert right there. I'm precisely that demand zone, but it never pulled back. So let's jump in to see what is actually happening. Okay, so Asian range, it's pretty good. It's not really trending. It's more or less chopping around, right? But we can see that on the left right there, the market pulled back, dropped, pushed, and created a TC, right? I also have very specific rules for that. So when it comes to market structure, we are all very aware how this works, right? We have specific rules, and because to me, the biggest key is to keep it systematic so you never have doubts, right? So what the market does, it taps into the demand that actually created that shift of structure, taps inside, pulls back, supply still in control, taps, takes a little bit of liquidity right there, then starts to cook a little bit, then shifts the structure to the upside, and then what we see is that the market starts creating higher lows and higher highs. So here I have a few too many zones, and I'm going to explain this in the 1 minute, right? We have to learn how to read the higher time frames and the lower ones, right? But what we simply see is the market pushing and pulling back beautifully, creating those series of higher lows. And what was my target? It was this one. Why? Right, we can ask why, because there is always logic, because this high failed to make a new lower low. And if it fails to make a new lower low, then it usually becomes liquidity, right? It's something that is weak. It's something that is not relevant, and usually it's going to get attacked, and then we're going to attack the opposite side, right? So knowing all of this, let's actually jump right now to the 1 minute to see what is going on. 1 minute. So there we go. So at first we had this zone again. Pay attention. We have this sell-off, then a big buy. I was looking for this one to tap, but unfortunately it did not. I had members of my community take this trade without the tap. Again, it's fine. We had this nice liquidity grab right there. The market shifted structure, but for me, I never trade without a zone, right? So then we continue breaking higher, create a new high, right? So right now we have a brand new zone. What happens is the market comes very nicely towards this zone. And then I was looking for an entry right there, and I was just about to take this trade right there. Which one was it? Yeah, it was this one right there, but it just looked a little bit undercooked because we pulled back, then we broke lower, and then we broke the high with that little wick. And I was like, okay, so is this a break? I would love to wait for one more candle, okay? And by the time one more candle formed and actually confirmed what I was looking, the market already ran away, right? So it was quite sad. But then usually this is something that I really suck at, is staying with the markets and actually looking to take another trade, right? So what I did is I did exactly what I'm weak at, and I also challenge you guys to be aware of your weak points, right? And for you to work on them, because this is how you grow. So what I did is I continued to follow, and again, it's all market structure, right? The market is right now failing supply. It started creating higher highs, so we have a higher high, higher low. At first, I was actually looking to take a trade from here. The market pulls back, creates a new higher high. So where is my new higher low right now? It's this one. So I want to enter within this region and keep my stop loss below. And this is what I did. I entered from right there. I waited for the candle to reject. On the next candle, I took it. And it was an amazing 2 pip stop loss, right? So quite tight. I don't usually do 2 pips, but this one was just the occasion. And just after I entered, I even didn't have time to take partials, right? This one just rocketed, right? At the end, instead of 12R, I closed 8R, right? Because of partials, I just calculated 8R, right? I closed, yeah, I think I'm gonna show you, right? I have some partials along the way, but the final trade I closed right there where was actually my target, right? I don't hold more. This is my target, so I closed right there. So that was a lovely trade, which again, full transparency, I did not take with full risk. In fact, I took it with 0.10%. Why? Because this is something that is kind of not yet in my plan, something that I'm not used to, but I'm happy that I exited my comfort zone. I'm willing to grow. So it was an amazing experience to actually see that what I see works out great. So after this trade, I was really happy. And then of course I ended for the session to end. And then as you can see, we pull back beautifully towards that newly created demand that initiated this massive push. We tap, we gave an entry setup. That was an entry. One community member took it, but yeah, depending on the risk to reward you're targeting right there, if you target 5R, you get missed by a little. 4R is perfect, right? So that is a trade that could be taken. And of course, that is where later the action happened. We kind of started to chop a little bit, pull back, and then we came in and we took out the Asian low, right? What is usually the Asian low? It is liquidity. It is where orders are resting. So the market went inside, took it, and then it started shifting and providing. So I do this just as my end of day. So I haven't taken these trades, right? I'm not here to just share trading views, screenshots, and pretend I took them. I did not, right? But we have the first shift, pullback, first trade, second shift, pullback, second trade, right? Then we have a third shift, third trade, right? But what I was looking at, just to remind you, is because I always trade with the 50-minute trend. And at that time, the 50-minute was bearish, right? So according to me, this right here was the lower high. So after this broke, this is when I look for the market to pull back and give me an entry, but it was a bit too late and the market just massively expanded, right? It attacked this high that I thought could be the weekly high, so we can continue going lower, but no, it attacked it, and there we are today. Unfortunately, no trades were executed today. On Thursday, the market was rather sloppy all day today, right? So we started with a nice flat Asian session. We ran into the highs. So we took out that, which we can say is the previous daily high, right? We took it out. They responded, right? But it just didn't move, right? It took liquidity up, took liquidity down. They went very deep inside this zone, right? And if you right now go to the 1 minute, you're gonna see something amazing right there. I can already see it on the 50 minute. That is potentially where the market is responding. And actually, I'm sure some of you might be actually in that trade, which is massive, right? So that could have been something you can take, ride it to the downside. And right now we have a press conference, we have economic events currently running, right? So I'm very interested what is gonna happen. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I was pretty quick. I just wanted to share because I know you're learning. So let me know if you actually did, right? Right now, I would love to throw a little bit of a projection or just to let you know my thoughts. Currently, I still see this supply to be major, but what I also see is that we have a very recent 4-hourly shift of structure that was broken by this demand right there. So what we have right now is a little bit of a battle of supply and demand, right? So I said that if this level gets invalidated, which is 1.003, right? This is potentially gonna expose this level, it's gonna expose that level, and we're finally gonna pull back and tap inside some daily zones, right? But if this one holds and the market continues to drop, then I do think we can go ahead and make a new lower low. So for example, tomorrow, or depending on how right now we close, right, we can of course have a pullback and a short, but I'm interested to see how the market is gonna pull back right there and how it's gonna respond from here. Okay, so I always keep a neutral mind. I always keep a neutral state. I never say the market will go down, the market needs to go up, or the market should do this, should do that. No, every single day I wake up, I do my analysis, and I trade what I see, not what I think. Okay, so currently I'm in this kind of 50-50, right? For me, it's always 50-50. It's all about probabilities and all about following the current momentum. But I'm really interested to see how the market is actually going to respond from this zone, and if it's going to show us continuation, and how it's going to respond when it comes into that demand, and if it's going to give us some bullishness, right? I really like this the sort of range, the sort of nice liquidity grab that also later created a shift of structure on a lower time frame. So I do think this scenario right there is also quite viable, right? But of course, more on that on Saturday for the weekly outlook and setup. So once again, hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know if you like this format. Just quickly sharing what I did this week, throwing some gems at you guys. And yeah, I would love to hear your feedback because this is what keeps me pushing. I wish you an amazing remaining of your week, an amazing weekend, and chat with you on Saturday.